Welcome back everyone, this is the 8th game of the World Championship match between Carlsen and Caruana. In games 6 and 7, Carlsen had the white pieces, but he did not manage to get a decisive result. In this game, Caruana had white. Let's see what he has prepared up his sleeve. Caruana opens with e4, a move he has played throughout this entire match. Carlsen plays c5, also his typical response in this match. Knight f3, knight c6, and here instead of going bishop to b5, Caruana decides this time not to go for the Rossolimo, instead he plays the open Sicilian with d4. C takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and here Carlsen plays the move e5, which is a bit of a surprise because this leads to very tactical positions, which is not really in Carlsen's style. Carlsen also does not have much experience in this line, well, at least over the board. So here Caruana plays knight d to b5, which I believe is the main move, threatening to go knight to d6, so Carlsen stops that by playing d6. So here bishop g5 is one of the main moves. Caruana goes knight to d5, which is also played a lot. So we have knight takes, e takes, knight back to b8. So here c4 was the old main line in this position. But here Caruana plays a4, which is maybe the modern way of handling the position. The idea is that if black goes a6, then the knight retreats to a3, and because white has already pushed a4, the pawn isn't restricted on a2. And the knight can always bounce to c4. White has ideas of a5, planting the knight on b6, bishop e3. So that is the idea behind the move a4. So here after a4, Carlsen goes bishop to e7, we have bishop e2, both sides castle, knight to d7, and bishop to d2. This seems a bit strange as opposed to the more natural bishop to e3, because bishop d2, well, it blocks the queen, but here Caruana probably didn't want to allow black the option of having, if white plays bishop to e3, the option of f5 and f4, which hits the bishop with tempo. Also with the bishop on d2, it helps to protect, if white plays pawn to a5, it helps to protect the pawn. In case black plays a6, the knight can come back to a3, the bishop covers a5. So here we have f5 from Carlsen. So here f4 seems like the natural move to play, trying to stop black's progress on the king side. But here after a6, knight to a3, black can take on f4 and then play knight to e5. White's queenside play seems a bit slow and moves like g5 are coming for black. So f4 maybe not so accurate. Here Caruana goes a5. We have a6, knight to a3, and you can see the bishop here protects the pawn on a5. So here Carlsen plays the move e4. Another possibility is to play knight to f6, pressuring the pawn on d5. So white doesn't really want to defend with c4 because that sort of defeats the purpose of knight to a3, which was to bring the knight to c4. So here bishop b4, trying to defend with the queen. But this sort of obstructs white's advancement on the queen side. So here, instead of the idea of knight to f6, Carlsen plays e4, which is also fine, giving the knight a square on e5. So here, Caruana plays knight to c4. Carlsen continues on knight to e5. And white could take here, but then this sort of becomes a race. And it's quite difficult to assess who is actually better in this position. So after knight to e5, Caruana plays knight to b6, occupying this very nice square, clamping down on black's queen side. So rook to b8, the rook was under attack. White goes f4. So here black has a take, otherwise he loses some initiative on the king side. So e takes f3, bishop takes f3. So here there are a few moves possible for black. He can try to play bishop f6. This seems like quite a natural move. The idea is to take on f3, then you play bishop to e5, putting the bishop on a nice square, with ideas of queen coming to h4. Another idea is to play bishop to g5, trying to exchange bishops. But here Carlsen plays the move g5. Doesn't seem like a Carlsen type of move because, for one, this weakens the king, and this is very double-edged. So now black has to go all out on the king side. And if Caruana manages to break through with his queen side play, things could go very wrong for Carlsen. So here after g4, Caruana continues with c4, f4 from Carlsen. So he didn't want to play the move g4 because then after bishop e2, white is going to play g3, which would completely halt black's attack on the king side. So here, after c4, Carlsen first plays f4 before playing g4. Bishop c3 now from Caruana, so now threatening to play c5. And if that is taken, then bishop takes e5. So here, the very aggressive move g4 doesn't accomplish much in the position, because after bishop to e4, c5 is still a threat with the idea of trying to create a passed d-pawn. So here, if black continues on with f3, then simply takes. And, well, this looks quite dangerous already for black, with these bishops slicing across the diagonals. So here, white can even go bishop takes e5, and then just maybe the simple rook takes f3. So this is a very promising position for white, having these connected passed pawns. Also, black's king is very exposed. Maybe just king to h1, bringing the other rook over to g1. Very nice position for white. So here, after bishop to c3, Carlsen plays bishop to f5. And now we reach a critical position in the game. So here, Caruana goes c5. In the press conference, Caruana said that he didn't consider any other moves. But he took a long time to play c5 because he was trying to convince himself to play it. And then trying to make sense of after knight takes, queen takes, d takes c5. He was trying to work out the move d6, but after d6, Caruana felt that he didn't have anything after rook a to d1, queen c6. That is why he didn't play d6 in this position. Instead, he played the move rook a to d1, threatening to go d6. So here another possible move is rook a to e1. This could be the best move in the position. There are lots of ideas in the air, like queen coming to h5, rook coming to e6. For example, if black goes bishop d6, then queen to h5. So if black plays rook to f7, trying to protect this square, then white has a very interesting move, rook to e6. The idea is to bring the knight to c4, attacking the bishop, and if the bishop retreats to f8, then white swings his knight into e5 to join in the attack. So what happens if bishop takes e6? So let's see one of the possible lines. D takes, rook to f5, queen g4, and if queen to f8 to defend, then knight d7. And white has a very nice position. So of course, after bishop to e6, that is just one of the possible lines that I'm showing. But here, after this d takes e6, white's position is very promising. So after rook to e6, black is so tight down in this position, it's almost like he is in zugzwang. So if he moves the bishop, then bishop to e5. This rook can't really move. These squares are covered by the knight. And, well, it looks quite dreadful. If bishop g6, then here maybe white can even take on g6. And, well, looks like quite a dangerous attack for white. So here, let me just go back. So after the move rook a to e1, Caruana said he wasn't quite sure what to do after bishop to f6. So let's go back to the game. In the game, instead of rook a to e1, we have rook a to d1, threatening d6. and that cannot be taken because then queen comes to d5 with check, winning the bishop. So therefore Carlsen plays bishop to d6, but things are still quite dangerous here for Carlsen. So the critical move here is queen to h5. Here knight c4 is also playable, but Fabi said he didn't like g4. If queen f2, then f3. So queen to, in this position, queen h5, definitely the critical line. If bishop g6, then queen h6, threatening mate, so rook f7, stopping that. And here, Caruana probably not sure what to do after black played bishop to f8. So another interesting idea to consider after queen to h5 is the move queen to e8. So black is giving up g5, but the idea is that here he plays queen to g6. That has to be taken. And then white goes knight c4, trying to remove the defender of the pawn. So rook d8, rook b to d8, knight takes, rook takes f4. And even though black is down 2 pawns, he might have some drawing chances because of opposite colored bishops. So here after bishop to d6, instead of going for the most critical line with queen to h5, here Caruana plays h3, which seems a bit slow, and Carlsen was definitely very relieved after this move. So here queen to e8 from Carlsen. Fabi said he underestimated this move. Carlsen now preparing to play queen to g6, which would support this pawn. Also, in some cases, bishop e4 could be quite strong. Caruana goes knight c4, queen g6, knight takes d6, queen takes d6, h4, g takes h4. So now the queens are exchanged off the board. Queen takes, rook takes f4, and here Carlsen plays h5. He wants to cement this bishop on g4. He doesn't really care about this pawn because it is doubled. Rook to e1. Bishop g4, this also opens up an attack on the rook. So rook to f6, rook takes, bishop takes, king f7, bishop takes h4, rook to e8 from Carlsen. So not much left to play for in the position. Obviously, if rook takes e8, then this is just dead drawn with opposite colored bishops. Rook f1 check, the players play on for a bit. King g8, rook f6, rook e2 from Carlsen, activating the rook on the second rank, also preparing to bring this rook behind the passed d-pawn. Rook g6 check, king to f8, d6, rook to d2, rook g5, and here both players agreed to a draw. No decisive results so far with 8 draws. There are 4 more games left to play, so let's see what happens. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.